Hey everybody, I'm here today with Gerald Blair. Gerald is the owner of the Kerringtone Aluminum Guitar Company. They've been in business for 3 years. Kerringtone Aluminum Guitar Company is a local custom one-man guitar builder that builds high-end handmade aluminum guitars using aircraft spec materials. Using top-notch components, craftsmanship, and pride, Kerringtone guitars are unique, lightweight, with brilliant tones. A fresher breath air in the music and art communities, Kerrington also supports local musicians in and around the surrounding areas. There's a lot more to it other than that, but I'm just going to give you the floor. Gerald, introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about Kerrington.
Hi, I'm Gerald Blair. I own and operate Kerringtone Guitar, and it's kind of a one-man band. It's called Kerringtone Guitar because of my daughter named Kerrington, so I figured I'd name it after her. It's what the man says. It's a aluminum guitar. It's something fresh. It's something new. We use top-notch products. We use top-notch equipment. We use everything the best that you can buy. Just a breath of fresh air.
So in your write-up, you mentioned a lot of stuff about a lot of the different components, like the knobs, and I'm not super versed with guitars, but it seemed like you guys used a bunch of um, really like high quality, like carbon materials, things like that, and you do a lot of specific
Yes.
things with each different part. Could you kind of go into that? I mean, what do you do for each piece of the guitar?
Well, all the knobs and everything we can make, we make the pickup rings, the knobs, the strap buttons. We make everything we can because it reflects on the quality and
Right,
it goes with the aesthetics. The
right,
high things are really hard to find.
right. Um, so when did you? I know you started 3 years ago. What kind of made you decide to get started? What inspired you to get going with this?
Well, it kind of was just like one of the things where I was like, hey, I wonder if I can build a guitar out of aluminum. And I did, and it was successful, and it just got so many looks, and then it inspired me to build more guitars. So next thing you know, I'm building guitar after guitar after guitar, and I'm taking around the music shops and showing them people, and just everybody's so blown away by them.
Right.
So it kind of took on a life of its own.
Right. You kind of just made this cool thing, and people were like, "Oh wow, that's sick. Like that's really cool."
Yeah.
And you just figured, "Why? Yeah, that's awesome." So I think you've already talked dabbled in this a little bit. What sets you apart? I mean, obviously, you make this aluminum guitar that's different. Is there anything else that makes you just kind of a different cut?
Yeah, well, it's handmade, and it's something that's not handmade's coming hard to find these days.
Right.
With the advancements in technology and machinery, that like these big companies, they spit out 1,000 guitars in a week,
Right.
and here I'm pulling one out every 2-3 weeks.
Right.
But
So it's
other than
something that
that, I mean, it's just basically a guitar, but it's made out of aluminum.
yeah.
And,
It just takes a lot more time and care, essentially.
Yeah, it's very personal. There's no two alike. Even if the
Right.
shapes are the same, they're still different
Are
from
there
each other. Just they're handmade.
are there like benefits that you found, um maybe not benefits or differences, I guess benefits, yeah. I mean, are there any things like that that you found just from making these guitars that maybe might be different than an on brand guitar?
Well, the benefit is they get lots of looks, and everybody wants to touch one. And they have sustain that seems like it's forever, and it's something different. It's fresh.
Right. And that's kind of like it's cool that it's a music thing too, because that's kind of the nature of music, at its core. So I feel like musicians of if you're talking about like local, like um not just musicians, but if you're talking about different markets that you're trying to go to, so like people who play, just for example, people play video games, I don't know, but a musician seems like the type of person who's going to be really into like that original, like kind of spirited thing. You know what I mean? Like just that's the nature of um, what a musician wants in something. That's like I think unique things really appeal to more musicians because musicians are people who are creating things, all the time. So I don't know, it's something that kind of comes to my head when
Yeah,
I think about all that.
absolutely. It's art, and it makes art.
Let's see. If you could go back to 3 years ago, what's something that, knowing what you know now, you would do differently? Any advice you'd give yourself?
Um, I don't have no regrets in this. It's been full steam ahead, and I like where it's going, and I like the attention that it attracts. At this point, I don't think there's nothing I would change.
Really?
I think that I'm in a good direction and a positive direction, and it's growing.
Right. Were there any things, I can't talk today. Were there any things that you kind of learned as you were building these custom guitars that, maybe it was a hurdle at one point, you're like, just like a specific piece that you couldn't really figure out and you kind of had to, tinker with for a bit? Were there any like small, just kind of things like that, you just had to teach yourself?
Oh yeah, there was a lot to teach myself as far as I mean, I never even really played a guitar until I started building guitars, and I taught myself to play a guitar enough to impress myself.
Right,
It's
right,
a
right.
tool to make. But as far as building, oh yeah, it was a big learning curve to make them structurally sound and structurally strong. With all the pressure and then to make them aesthetically pleasing and so on. It's been a big learning curve, and I feel like every time I build one, I learn something new about each and
Right,
every one of them.
right. Um, in these 3 years, what's been your favorite part, since you
My
started doing
favorite
this?
part is finishing them, but also starting them because as I start them, it's like anything. You're not really sure how it's going to turn out,
Hmm.
but when it turns out perfect every time. It's very satisfying. It's satisfying to see people play them. It's satisfying to hear people play them, and yeah, that it's very it's very accomplished feeling.
It's that sense of fulfillment. That's
Yes,
cool.
it's very fulfilling.
Um, what would you say the hardest thing has been? Just these 3 years.
The hardest thing has been was getting started. Was to sit down and basically reverse engineer a guitar,
Right.
and I have no experience in instruments at all, and it was a lot of thinking. It was a lot of sleepless nights, and then details and what can I do next, and what else can I make, and so on.
Learning. You say you taught yourself, right? You kind of learned enough on your own to please yourself. Is that what you said?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
entertain myself
so
for the most
learning
part.
it is hard enough. Building it is like a whole. That's like is a double whammy. That's crazy. That's cool
Yeah,
though.
I took on both animals at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to learn when I was younger, and I respect you for that because doing two things at once like that because it's not easy to learn how to play an instrument.
Well, I figured I'd jump in with both feet.
Right now, what's the number one way that you bring in new customers, or just word of mouth? What is it?
It's word of mouth, Facebook, social media, those
Right.
types of platforms. They seem to get around the world, so to say.
Hmm. I'm sure that since your products, the guitars are so different and unique that really sometimes all it takes is someone to hold it or see it and be like, wow, like so it's probably a really great thing for just
Yes,
spreading like that.
yes, it's very satisfying to see people with the eyes that light up, and everybody just wants to take a picture with one and play it because it's so different, and people are curious about it.
Um, so you kind of alluded to it just now. How has technology helped you in this starting this business?
Well, this is the technology is the 1940s basically. I'm using like old world tools. I'm working a machine shop, so
Hmm.
I'm using old world tools in my practice of building the guitars because the tools feel like they almost know what they're doing on
Right.
their own. I'm using Healy arc welding, just using saws and a milling machine, and the basics.
Cool. So it seems like you have something really cool going on. If you were to give advice to someone else, who is looking to make their own guitars, it doesn't have to be something crazy, like unique, but maybe just trying to make a guitar. What's something you tell that person?
Well, do your research. Be good at math and take your time. And if you're driven enough, and I believe that if you apply yourself enough, that anything is possible.
Hmm.
Don't give up your dreams. If that's your dream, it's very it's fulfilling to satisfy yourself in that
Right.
type of thing.
You said be good at math. How does that kind of come into it? What do you need for that?
The specific measurements of
Right.
of tune, and it's just not a thing by the ear. It's also
Right.
a specific measurement.
Yeah, it has to be like precise to get that right sound.
Yes, to be in tune, so to say.
So, those are the questions I have, but I kind of want to open up to you. Is there anything that my questions didn't cover? Anything you'd like to add? I mean, you talked that you named the company after your daughters, things like that. Is there anything you kind of want to
Yeah,
dive into?
yeah. Like I said, I named the company after my daughter Carrington. I decided to call it Kerringtone. I
I
struggled
like
with
that.
finding a name for this guitar, and then one morning when I was driving, I said, you know what? I'll throw an E on my daughter's last name. We'll call it Kerringtone Guitar. And and I figure that this is something that I could pass down and build into a tradition. Because I feel my guitars will outlast the test of time,
Right.
and that they'll be around forever. They're almost an heirloom that you could pass down from
Yeah.
generation to generation, as people do now.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that whole concept is really fascinating. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, so this has been good. One thing I'd like to say before I stop recording, it'd be really cool. Why don't you send us a picture of one of the guitars so that way when we put all this stuff up, I could accompany it with
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
picture of one of those. That'd
I
be
can
really
do that.
sweet. Other than that, this was great. This is a super unique product. I mean,
Thank you.
I've done a lot of these, and every product or business that we do is always unique. I mean, I've learned a lot just from different things. This is the first musical um, person I've talked to, I guess, so to speak. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it's super cool, really.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm very thankful for this platform.
yeah. All right. Well, have a good day, man.
Yeah, you too. I'll shoot you some pictures to your email.
All right. Yeah.